Thank you, Senator Budd. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lohmeier, you know as well as I do from your military service that upholding good order and discipline is a foundation for our professional fighting force. Lethality relies on a honed practice of service members following lawful orders. I myself, even though as a progressive serving in the military, did not agree with President Bush's decision to look for weapons of mass destruction in Iraq when we should have been destroying the Taliban in Afghanistan, still volunteered to go, and I'm proud of my service to this day. Sometimes service members have to serve against their own personal opinions. Circumventing commanders on the battlefield in real time could lead to life or death mistakes. As former Secretary of Defense Mattis wrote, officers must carry out a policy to the best of their ability, even when they might disagree with that policy. To that end, I have questions about your commitment to this core principle and the troubling signals that your confirmation would send to those in uniform. You claim to have only written your book and gone public after the Inspector General concluded that your complaint had no merit. But we all know that there are other channels available to service members concerned about commander decisions or policy choices beyond the IG. Before you chose to write your book or speak out in the media about policies that concerned you, did you consider being a whistleblower to your senators or representatives, which would have been protected under Title 10, Section 1034? Yes or no? Did you consider it?
Yes, Senator.
You did consider it. That is news to us. I ask that you present this committee any correspondence that you may have had with members of Congress.
Copy. I'll do that, Senator.
Thank you. Did you file an Article 138 complaint, which under the Uniform Code of Military Justice allows service members to seek redress for a wrong conducted by a commander?
I did not, Senator.
Okay. So why did you not?
There are many months in question, the time frame that we're talking about here, but at the time that we separated after I had been relieved of my command, and there was a command-directed investigation about me as well as the general officer that had relieved me of my command. It was a traumatic period, a period of hardship for my family and my children.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you were writing the book and you were still in uniform. Mm-hmm. You chose to write, you made the decision to write the book because you said there was no other way for you to address your concerns. And you said that you did reach out to members of Congress, which is news to me, but you did not file an Article 138 complaint prior to writing the book and speaking out in public. I
understand. I misunderstood your question, Senator. And my answer to your previous question, you asked if I had considered reaching out to members of Congress, and the answer to that question was yes.
Did you do it?
I had communication with members of Congress, and I'd be happy to provide that to you. I exhausted all of the means that I understood available to me. I'd been counseling with the base IG, Space Force IG, base legal, Pentagon Public Affairs, and the entire chain of command to include members of the Joint Chiefs before I published a book.
So nobody talked to you about Article 138 complaint, which is a recourse that you could have taken?
If that was discussed, specifically Article 138, I don't recall the circumstances as to why I chose what I did at that time regarding Article 138 specifically. I'm
concerned that you didn't follow through on all of the recourses that were available to you. You are allowed to have your personal views, but there are rules governing how public service members can be in opposition to lawful orders. With your actions, you signal to those under your command that it is okay to be insubordinate. As Peter Favor, a scholar who served in George W. Bush's National Security Council, has written, and I quote, "Military officers who believe that the policymaking process is heading in a bad direction have ample recourse to advise within the chain of command. If their advice is not heeded, the country would not be better served by senior officers provoking a civil-military crisis to advertise their policy differences with civilian leaders. You were relieved of command not for your beliefs, but for how you chose to express them on active duty while holding a position of authority over others. That is not persecution. That is accountability. And if, as a former commander, you cannot recount the basic recourses available to service members, how can we expect you to lead airmen and guardians? You were relieved of command not for your beliefs, but for how you chose to express them on active duty while holding a position of authority over others. So if it's true that you followed these steps, you still decided to circumvent the chain of command while still on active duty, to speak out publicly without informing your leadership. You could have resigned and spoken out or continued serving and kept your mouth shut, but instead you decided to continue serving and violate your professional ethics. You are allowed to have those personal views, But these are, but there are rules governing how public service members can be opposition to lawful orders. And so I sort of feel like you broke the rules. There are ways to do this, and you chose to instead circumvent those rules. That sets the standards for the people that you are about to take charge of to continue to circumvent the rules. And that is not conducive to good order and discipline within the military. Do you understand that? That is my concern.
If Chairman Wicker's okay with me responding, I'd be happy to.
Sure. I think the question is, do you understand that that's her point of view?
I understand your view, Senator. I think in value or in principle, you and I agree on many things that you've said. I will reject the idea that I did anything unlawful, unethical, or publicly contrary to, I never publicly criticized my chain of command. I never publicly was politically partisan while acting in an official capacity, and both of those allegations were the reasons I was relieved of my command, and I wasn't found guilty of either of those things.